Well, that's what was happening in these barracks all the time. Because our food consisted of, in the morning, a slice of bread with some black coffee and a cube of butter. Our lunch consisted of a watery soup with potato peelings in it, with a slice of bread, with some coffee, and another piece of butter. And in the evening, we got the same soup with the potato peelings and bread and the butter. And of course, the prisoners tried to eat anything they could. We were so hungry. We were starved at all times. I was hungry every time, everywhere. And I hope you never, ever in your life are subjected to hunger. Hunger is one of the worst things that can ever happen to humanity, to anybody. You'll do virtually anything. There are some questions here from a young man. Was there cannibalism in the camps? No, there was no cannibalism in the camps. What did we do? How did we cope with it? Coping with survival is not something you plan. Survival is you respond instinctively. Now, at that moment, what's happening? And if you see someone coming, a German or a capo, you have to immediately figure out how to behave, what to do, and how not to be placed in a position, a compromised position where you either get beaten up or more. Abby, I should say, is here. Abby, where are you? Raise your hand. Abby, your question was outstanding. There were many, many outstanding questions. I'll tell you, you guys are really, really something, because I read all your letters, and I can't, some of them were repetitious because you asked the same questions, so I'm trying to cover that. But there were some questions that weren't part of that general questioning. And I was really, really touched. Debbie's question was simply, would I have compromised my religion as a Jew if the Nazis allowed me to convert to Christianity or whatever? And she goes on to say that she would not, that she would never compromise her Christianity for, I guess, any purpose of life. I will not argue the point with Abby, because God forbid she should never be in any situation like I was. However, God was a thing that I had when I was a young man, when I was a young kid living with my family. God, you're introduced to God when you are young and with your family. They are the ones that introduce you to God, the synagogues, the churches, whatever religion is. And with that you emulate, with that you grow. And once you lose your family, once you lose that base of your total existence as a young child, religion sort of becomes a secondary and third thing. And that's what it was to me as a young man. I'm not saying it was to the adults who were already embedded in the religion. But to me, I heard the word all the time, oh, God help us, God help us. Where are you, God? God, how can you do this to us? How can you murder all these babies that were taken away from their mothers while they were feeding them, right? And thrown against the wall. How could you take young children and people who have done nothing to hurt anybody in the world and put us in this predicament? Where are you? Well, for some unknown reason, God didn't listen, hear us. At least he didn't hear me. So, perhaps had I been an older man and had been more, taught my religion, maybe I would have had a greater stand. And so to answer to your question, Abby, would I have given up my religion to survive? Yes, I would. If I could just get out of this predicament, if I could have my parents dead, If I could go back to square one to when I was a kid like you guys are now, and give up the religion, I would do it. I would do it in a minute, because then I can start again from wherever I left off. So, torture and murder and slaughter and all these things were taking place. Religion was sort of a basic thing that I kind of stayed away from. And today there was another question: how do I respond as a Jew today to my religion? And I can say I am not very religious. I am a Jew, and I will die a Jew. And I suffered as a Jew. But I'm not very, very religious. I can't forget that I don't understand some things that I do not understand why this happened to me and kids like me. I can understand if you're a bad person and so on. So the old adage is, God is punishing. God is punishing. But why God will punish all these people that were 60 million people? This was not a Jewish thing. This was not a Jewish thing. Let me just give you the definition of Holocaust. Does anyone know the definition of Holocaust? Okay. Definition of Holocaust is any widespread, horrific destruction of human life. It does say nothing about Jews. It says nothing about Christians. It says nothing about Buddhists, Muslims, or anybody. It says destruction of life. That's a Holocaust. So, I wanted to know why this was happening to me, and God didn't answer. So I had a theory. I said perhaps there was a good God, and there was a bad God.